Hey, I understand that you guys are supposed to be all confused when these new rules kick in August dealing with real estate. Are you really confused? Well, if so, stick around. Hey, Dave Edwards, Treasure Valley Dave here, your great real estate agent by your side when it comes time to buy a home, sell a home, or even relocate right here to the Treasure Valley. And we're talking about some very interesting stuff today. So I was just reading this story today here from the Washington Post, and it talks about how you're supposed to be all confused about all these new rules that are going to be kicking in. And supposed to be so confused you can't even read it and understand it, and it's like crazy town. So let's go through some of what this article says about what confuses you and see if I can break down some of the things to like do away with some of that confusion. So let's get started.
Wow.
Yeah, they're making it sound so scary and confusing, and oh my gosh, you'd have to be a rocket surgeon to figure out how all this works. Was that true? Let's check out this story here from the Washington Post. Just came out today. New contracts might make buying a home more confusing than ever. Well, let's check it out. Would-be homeowners will soon face a new hurdle, wading through lengthy, potentially confusing real estate contracts even before they tour a home. So what this part is they're talking about that you need to have a representation agreement with an agent before you can be shown a home, whether that's on video or in person. And most of the article just blows over this, but this next paragraph talks about that too. Currently, most buyers can choose a realtor without making any commitments in writing, but starting August 17th, buyers will have to sign a mandatory agreement first, and it could include hard-to-understand provisions that favor agents and cost buyers money, legal experts and consumer advocates say. Well, some of this is true, just like most of the media. Some of it's true and some of it's not. In this case, yes. Buyers will have to sign some kind of a representation agreement with the agent before those tours can take place. And no, they're not hard to understand. They don't favor agents and they don't cost you money, regardless what legal experts and consumer advocates say. So what is it all about? Well, in Idaho, at least in Idaho, it's the same form that we've been using all along. They're adding a couple more lines of disclaimer, but it's essentially the representation agreement. And basically it says that you and I are going to work together to find you a home. And it's for a certain length of time. And that's it. So no big, hairy, scary thing there. The thing is, though, it is going to be kind of up to you to find out who's the agent that you want to work with. So in the past, you might have said, hey, I want to go see this house. Oh, but our favorite agent, they're on vacation this week. Let's just call up this other agent and have him show us this house because gosh, we don't want to bother our other agent. It's their day off, they're on vacation or whatever. So you just, abuse this other agent and hell, they don't know. It's like they're brand new and they're just like, they got somebody in the car. It's like they have someone with a pulse to talk to, a real human, instead of script practice at the brokerage. So they're okay. But is that really the right thing to do? To abuse another agent because your person is not available? It's not really right. So it's on you to find the agent that you want to work with and then commit to them. Heck, they're going to commit to you, so you commit to them. Let's all be committed. So moving along, the rest of this pretty much talks about the process of who pays the buyer's broker. And that really means the buyer's agent, but technically it means broker. The newly mandatory contracts are a result of a March court settlement with NAR, National Association of Realtors, that consumer advocates hope will end the practice that led to sellers, agents paying their buyers' counterparts half of the commission fee from the sale of a home. We could go on about this for a long time, but proponents of ending that automatic split hope to have buyers pay their own agents will spur negotiations that could lead to lower commissions. Well, everything has always been negotiable. Buyer side, seller side, it's always been. Contract templates are now being circulated by realtors groups that would have buyers pay some of the commissions rather than just sellers, as is the case currently. There's some honesty. It is the case. It's always been negotiable. It's going to always be negotiable, apparently. But consumer advocates worry that most buyers simply aren't equipped to vet the legal documents their agents ask them to sign, leaving them at the mercy of industry norms. Well, in Idaho, you're very lucky because the forms aren't going to be a whole lot different than what they have been. a couple lines of disclaimer that says that, hey, everything's negotiable, because like in the past, it's always been everything's negotiable. But now they just want to make sure that there's absolutely no way you could be weekend at Bernie's and you could still understand what these forms say. Nobody in their right mind is reading these forms, says a University of Buffalo law professor, Tanya Munster. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. So anybody in their right mind isn't reading these? What does that mean? A professor says people don't read their these legal forms before they. Maybe she should be out there telling people, read legal forms because they have consequences before you sign them. We'll get back here to Realtor Association's General Counsel Brian Manson here in a little bit. But back to this monster lady, she described a draft from the California Association of Realtors, for example, as, quote, dense, complicated, and all over the place to the point of incomprehensibility. She said, I think that's by design. So that Manson guy, he's the attorney for the California Realtors, he said the revised forms are greatly simplified, making them more transparent and easier for consumers to understand with the help of their realtors, Manson said. So I kind of, on the one hand, this is California, right? But if I was in California, I'd be a little concerned that the main lawyer for the realtors is telling agents to act as attorneys. Because the one thing that agents are not are attorneys, and we get in huge trouble if we act like we are one. Glad I'm not in California, and I feel bad for you agents that are down there. You're getting quite a message. It goes both ways there. Some in the industry believe requiring buyer contracts will do little to change commissions, which are typically 6% of the sales price, with 3% going to the seller agent and 3% to the buyer's realtor. NAR and its affiliates said commissions have always been negotiable, and many buyers agents ask their clients to sign upfront agreements. That part's about the representation agreement that we talked about a minute ago. But the rest of us is typically, it has been 6%, 3% to each side, buyer side, seller side, but it's always been negotiable. Those are not anything that Moses came down from the mountain, carved in stone. It's always been negotiable. You know what? I think we probably need a little bit more simplification, some clarity on this point. Dave, take it away. All right, so to make things really clear, really simple, let's go through this step by step. Let's start out with the way the system is now, the way that you've enjoyed it for the last decades and decades, and then we'll talk about what's changed for the future. So let's get to it. So here we have our Idaho seller. Hey, this guy looks familiar, right? And here's his great little house that he's wanting to sell. Now, he could sell it by himself. Some people have. More likely, almost always, they're going to use the help of a professional. Do you know anybody? It turns out that our seller knows Billy, and he's a listing agent, and he's going to talk with our seller here real quick. So, Mr. Agent, do you think I could sell my house? How much do you think I could sell it for? And what's it going to cost me? Let's take a look, says the agent. So I think your house is probably going to fetch about this much over here once it sells. That's funny. Why are you using cotton balls? Why don't you use real money? Well, because right now we don't have real money. All we're talking about is theory. We think someone might buy your house, and we think they might give you this amount of money. But right now you don't have any real money. It's all just theory. I gotcha. And the cost? Well, this is what we typically charge, this amount right here. And of that, this amount will be going to the buyer's broker. But everything's negotiable. I suggest we go with this. This is traditional around our area and seems to give the best results. But if you want to try something different, let's talk about it. Okay, well, I trust your opinion because you are a local expert. Thank you. So what we need to do now is put your home on the market. Okay. Hi, I'm a buyer's agent, and I see you have a house for sale. Oh, I see you're offering this amount to my broker for me to help you go ahead and get that house sold. So, Mr. Listing Agent, this is the co-op amount. That's the amount that you're going to give to the cooperating agent. Yes, that's exactly right. Remember, this is from the old days, or what we have right now, and what it's been for decades and decades. So now let's fast forward to the future. Ooh. So, Mr. Listing Agent, is this the amount that you're going to have a seller concession for? Yes, that's exactly right. That's what's changed. And a little bit more.
Wow.
All right, I'm, of course, Mr. Buyer's Agent, and I have me an out-of-state buyer. Hello, out-of-state buyer. Out-of-state buyer says, this house is really nice. That's how much they're wanting for it? Why, yes. But how do you get paid? In this case, the seller is going to provide to the buyer's broker this amount. Interesting. Why is it just a cotton ball? Because it's not real money until you come along. Hey, Billy, listing agent? Yes, Mr. Buyer Agent. I have a buyer. We're ready to put an offer in on your house, and that amount looks like it's pretty fair amount. So that's what we'll offer. Very good. Let me present that to our seller. Mr. Seller, we have an offer, and they want to provide that much money. Well, that sounds great. Write it up. All right, our seller accepts your offer. Super. My buyer is extremely happy. Now that we have the escrow process started, we'll start working on getting our funds brought over to you. Sweet. Well, here it is, closing day, and you've brought all your money to buy this house with. Yes, I did. Hey, what happened to all the cotton balls? We've replaced all those hopes and dreams with cold, hard cash. Mr. Buyer's money goes over here to Mr. Seller, and Mr. Buyer gets his house. Are you happy, Mr. Seller? Why, yes, I am. And I made a promise. There's your fee. Thank you very much. I'm happy with the way things all worked out. And Mr. Seller, I too made a promise. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. In the old days, we call that a co-op. In the new days, we call that a seller concession. In the old days, that came from the listing agent slash broker's pile. In the new days, that comes directly from the seller. It's the same pile of money. The amount is always negotiable. The amount has always been always negotiable. Thank you, Mr. Listing Agent. You're welcome, Mr. Buyer Agent. Have a good day. So Mr. Seller got his money, and he gets to go off and do whatever he wants to do. Mr. Buyer got a real nice house, and our two agents made just enough money to get out of bed tomorrow and do it all again. So now that wasn't complicated. That wasn't confusing. I don't know why all these people in the mainstream media are saying that you're all confused and don't know what to do. I think we just went through it pretty easy, I think. But if you do have any questions, obviously, give your real estate professional a holler. Now let's dig a little bit more into this article and see what we can see. Well, that was pretty helpful. Thanks. The changes will ultimately benefit the industry and consumers by adding more transparency to the commission process. He advised home buyers to go over the new contracts with their agents and understand them fully before signing. Well, and agents are there to help answer questions where they can, but they're not attorneys. Keep that in mind. And these new forms with this extra language just like really out there, it is going to make it so super transparent that, well, there's going to be no excuse for not knowing what's going on. Consumer advocates have argued that if buyers agents no longer get the traditional commission split, they will be forced to negotiate rates with their own clients. Well, and that's something that they've always been able to do. While the new templates from state realtors groups do have provisions about home buyers paying their own realtors, the contracts also allow buyers agents to be paid directly by sellers outside of the MLS. Well, that's true. And so what this says, and this is one of the big changes, no longer on the MLS will it say what the seller side is offering to the buyer side through the MLS. It can be done anywhere else. It can be done on Zillow. It could be done with a phone call. It could be done on a sign writer. It could be done with skywriting with an airplane if you happen to be a pilot, but it just can't be done through the MLS. So it really does kind of take away transparency, but that's what the lawyer said that you sellers want. Oh, by the way, did you know that almost every seller is also a buyer? Isn't that funny how that works? Huh. Nothing in the NAR settlement prohibits home sellers from compensating buyer brokers off the MLS. So when you do sign that contract with your buyer's agent, that representation agreement, there will be some language on there that says how much the buyer side is going to get paid. And that's the amount that we're going to be asking the seller side to help compensate with. Now, some may fully compensate that as a concession. Some may do partially, and some may not do any at all. If they do come in less than that amount that was agreed to on the initial representation agreement, then the buyer is going to have to make up that difference. So as a buyer, you're thinking, well, gosh, I'm looking at a house. I love this house. I love that house. This house, the buyer is offering a concession. That house, they're not. It's up to you. Maybe that house over there, you're getting a screaming deal, and it doesn't matter. You can come up with that extra money out of your pocket. Maybe you're a first-time home buyer, you don't have that extra money. Maybe you're going to go with the seller that is offering that concession. It's completely up to you. It's totally negotiable depending on what your situation is. The language in these draft forms, the new forms that have come out, align with some realtor predictions that the industry could largely maintain the status quo, meaning the future is going to be pretty much like the past was. Though some rules might be different, it's going to be business as usual, said that California real estate agent. And I do think that it's probably going to be that way. So confusing? Are you guys confused? Good thing we're here to help. Well, I sure had a fun time today, and this was quite the educational experience. So going forward, there are going to be some changes. A lot of disclosures are going to be changed. But at the end of the day, the only real thing that we're changing is this word co-op for this word concession. So hopefully that cleared up some of the confusion. And remember, if there's anything I can do to help you with your real estate, answer some questions for you. If you get confused on this subject or anything else, give me a holler. I'd be glad to help. And until next time, we'll see you on the next video. Hey, thanks for stopping in and learning more about real estate in Nampa, Idaho and the Treasure Valley. If you'd like to learn more, watch this video here next or binge on this playlist. When it comes time to sell a home, buy a home, or even relocate to the Treasure Valley, your Treasure Valley Dave team is your real estate expert by your side, helping you get home.